Now, before we can celebrate, this is what we need to be aware of. I did write an essay that turned into a book that's now become part of this collective movement, an organization called the American Freedom Campaign that's worked with Raymond and with you guys. And what the essay and the book and the message said is this. This is scary. There are time-tested ways that would-be dictators close down a democracy or crush an open society. And we're seeing each of these 10 put in place right now. So I'm going to quickly go through them. Number one, and by the way, it always works. You saw this in Italy with Mussolini crushing a fragile parliamentary democracy. He innovated the 10 steps. You saw it in Germany when the National Socialists took over legally a parliamentary democracy. It wasn't a coup, they did it systemically, step by step. You saw it in Stalin's Russia. Petty dictators use the same 10 steps. The 10 steps always work, and we're seeing them now. Number one, invoke a terrifying internal and external threat, real or not real, and hype it. Has that happened? Number two, create a secret prison system or a prison system that is unaccountable to the rule of law where torture takes place. That's right. You cannot close down an open society without state torture. So why should this scare us, law-abiding American citizens? Because there is not an example of a nation that created a prison system outside the rule of law where the state uses torture that it did not sooner or later turn it against you and me. Civil society leaders, opposition leaders, people like Ron Paul, for example, journalists, people like me, activists, people like you. You cannot name an example. And the president and his lawyers, that guy, the alleged...
Come out with your hands up!
Thank you. He now says he has the right to call any of us an enemy combatant. You, me, innocent U.S. citizens, and lock us up in a 10 by 12-foot cell in a Navy brig for 3 years. All right, and psychiatrists know isolation makes sane people insane. All right, so that's number two. Number three, create a paramilitary force that's not answerable to the people. Who is that? That's right, setting up shop now in San Diego, setting up shop in Illinois. They already set up shop in South Carolina. These people are hand-picked torturers and murderers from countries like Chile and El Salvador where they torture their own citizens. Is mercenary armies, is that what the American founders wanted? All right. Number four, create a surveillance society. All right? Is that what the founders intended?
Down with visa!
My daughter is 13 years old. She's in summer camp right now. She's writing me letters. I'm not getting her letters. I'm not getting half my mail, and when my mail arrives, it's ripped wide open. I showed it to the post office, and they said, that's not possible. All right? Mail tampering is happening to activists around the country. People's emails being interfered with. People's phone calls are being interfered with. Kucinich's website was jammed when he tried to move forward with impeachment. They just passed this FISA bill. It is going to be your mail, your phone calls, right? Your letters from your kids. Tomorrow, it's going to be Congress being surveilled. We have opened the gates of hell. All right, let them know.
We're mad as hell! We're not gonna take
He's mad as hell. Number five, infiltrate and harass citizens groups. Hello, State Department. Hello, CIA. I know you're here. You're taking notes. You're listening. All right, but you know what? There are more of us than there are of you. That's right. So I'm going to skip ahead. You start to target highly visible people. For instance, candidates, not give candidates like Ron Paul any mainstream media attention, not give Kucinich any mainstream media attention for the impeachment proceedings. But you start to do more. You start to make sure people like Bill Maher, Dan Rather, visible people who criticize the war, lose their jobs, get smeared. Then you start to redefine criticism as espionage, threatening the New York Times with espionage prosecution for releasing stories to the American people about the swift banking surveillance of ordinary citizens. You start to call criticism treason, right? Like threatening to get Bill Keller of the New York Times prosecuted for treason. Well, the penalty for treason is execution. Just as in 1938, in Stalin's Russia, the publisher of Izvestia was prosecuted in a show trial for treason. He was found guilty. He was executed. The same themes are recurring now. The next step is you start to make it easier to declare martial law. Has anyone heard of the Defense Authorization Act of 2007? Whatever you think of, however you interpret the Second Amendment, the founders meant for us to have accountable militias because they knew how terrifying it was to citizens to have soldiers occupying their homes, terrifying their children. Defense Authorization Act of 2007 says that the president can send the National Guard from Alabama to Oregon against the wishes of governors of both states and create a militarized society overnight. Tell Congress about it after the fact. Did the founders intend that? No! And then the last step, and then I need to say goodbye for now, but we're going to have beers later. The last step, and this is where you guys have to take the lead. You have to take it forward.
For tyranny.
Say it again.
Guns weren't for hunting, they were for tyranny.
Guns weren't for hunting, they were for tyranny. This is interesting. This is interesting. And you know what really has to happen in this country is real debate has to go back to the citizens. Because we are smarter together than any of these people are in the green rooms. But number 10, listen you guys, this is so important after we leave here and after this euphoria and joy dissipates and we're fighting the good fight, many of us by ourselves. Number 10 is to make it easier to subvert the rule of law and then to declare martial law. All right? So when I wrote the book, I foresaw that pretty soon people like Karl Rove would just start to say to Congress, you know what, I don't care. So what, you're Congress. Doesn't matter. That's what you saw in Italy in 1920. Parliament kept saying, but wait, we're Parliament. And Mussolini kept saying, you know what, whatever. And he just waited for Parliament to understand that the time for negotiating was over. So now we're seeing executive orders, secret executive orders, that ensure a continuity of government after the president declares a national emergency whenever he says it is. This could happen tomorrow, right? And what you see looking at societies that close is that it is usually not a coup, it is a gradual process, but a certain point gets reached at which democracy can no longer heal democracy. So yes, I am scared of the next few months because history shows running up to an election is when there's going to be a hyped threat if someone wants to cause mischief, when there's going to be a provocation. We have a history of this in this country and overseas. So you guys be vigilant, be wary, waken the citizens, and if there are criminals in the White House, if there are criminals running this country, breaking the law again and again, do the founders want us to let the justice system work and hold the guilty accountable?